Russia's counteroffensive has collapsed. Putin touched down in China and the EU is standing firm on frozen Russian assets. All that and more coming up next. Russia's spring-summer offensive of 2025 has ended in failure. That's according to Ukraine's general staff. On August 30th, Russia's state propaganda released a report by the head of the Russian general staff, summing up the so-called spring-summer campaign. But in reality, it's just wishful thinking and blatant lies. After 3.5 years of full-scale Russian invasion, this latest seasonal push has achieved almost nothing. Ukrainian military says the enemy's losses are massive, while their territorial gains are negligible. Since the start of 2025, Russia lost over 291,000 soldiers killed and wounded. In the past 8 months alone, the Russian army has lost 3,186 armored combat vehicles, 1,480 tanks, and more than 10,000 artillery systems. Ukrainian forces stress that Moscow's claims about captured territory are highly exaggerated. Meanwhile, in the Kursk region this year, Ukrainian troops have eliminated 19,080 enemy soldiers, with more than 25,000 wounded. Today, Ukrainian forces are on the offensive in the Sumy region, liberating Kindrivka and Andriivka and pushing the enemy out of other border settlements.
Regarding the aggressor state's claims of high-precision strikes exclusively on military targets, the price of this boast is well known to thousands of peaceful Ukrainians who lose their homes, relatives, and loved ones every day. Wherever a Russian Iskander falls, there will supposedly be a Ukrainian armed forces command post or a base of foreign mercenaries. The consequence of Russia's constant violations of international humanitarian law is the loss of human life. For instance, just one indiscriminate Russian attack on Kiev on August 28th killed 25 civilians, including 4 children. And it is the Ukrainian defense forces who hold the front, destroy and exhaust the occupier, and prove that no Kremlin propaganda can conceal the failure of Russia's spring-summer 2025 campaign.
Former Ukrainian parliament speaker Andriy Parubiy shot dead in Lviv. Andriy Parubiy, a member of parliament who served as a parliamentary speaker from 2016 to 2019 and a key figure in Ukraine's 2013 pro-European Maidan revolution, was killed on Saturday at around 12 noon. According to the Prosecutor General's office, a gunman fired several shots, killing Parubiy on the spot. The attacker fled and a manhunt is now underway. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the killing as a horrendous murder.
Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs Ihor Klimenko and Prosecutor General Ruslan Kravchenko have just reported the first known circumstances of the horrendous murder in Lviv. Andriy Parubiy was killed. My condolences to his family and loved ones. All necessary forces and means are engaged in the investigation and search for the killer.
Ukrainian officials have not yet given a possible motive for the shooting. Lviv's mayor Andriy Sadovy says finding the killer and the establishment of the circumstances of the attack is of utmost importance. Russian President Vladimir Putin has arrived in China for a 4-day visit. He will attend a military parade marking the 80th anniversary of victory in World War II and take part in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, which runs in Tianjin from August 31st to September 1st. Putin will speak at the summit and participate in a SCO Plus session, which includes leaders of member states as well as heads of observer countries and dialogue partners. In addition, he is scheduled to hold meetings with the presidents of Turkey and Iran, Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Masoud Pezeshkian, as well as Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Ahead of his scheduled meeting with Vladimir Putin in China, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi discussed peace efforts with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Thank President Zelensky for his phone call today. We exchanged views on the ongoing conflict, its humanitarian aspect, and efforts to restore peace and stability. India extends full support to all efforts in this direction.
President Zelensky called his phone conversation with Prime Minister Modi productive and important. The Ukrainian president says that ending this war must start with the unconditional ceasefire and that India is ready to make efforts and send the appropriate signal to Russia. Frozen Russian assets cannot be returned to Russia after a ceasefire without paying reparations. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy Kaja Kallas said ahead of the informal meeting of EU foreign ministers in Copenhagen. Kallas insists that frozen assets cannot go back to Russia until it compensates Ukraine for the damage caused by the war.
What more can we do? We see that Russia does not want peace, although there are a lot of diplomatic efforts made to bring Zelensky and Russia to the table. Then, in relation to that, because it always comes up, we are going to have a deep dive into frozen assets issue. There are pros and cons. There are some sensitivities regarding this, but we really have to have argumented debate about this. What are the risks?
Currently, these Russian assets are held at the Belgian financial institution Euroclear. In total, the EU has frozen around 210 billion euros of Russian assets. Swedish Foreign Minister Maria Malmer Stenegaard expressed disappointment that the EU cannot agree on transferring the frozen assets to Ukraine.
It is obvious that Russia does not want to stop the war, and therefore we must put more pressure on Russia. So we need to adopt the 19th sanctions package, but also move forward with the EU accession process for Ukraine. I'm also very frustrated that the EU is not able to make decisions on the frozen assets in order to make sure that Ukraine can use those.
According to Politico, the European Commission is developing a framework that would make it easier in the future to channel frozen Russian assets to Ukraine's reconstruction. Supporters also see this as a step toward potential confiscation of the assets, sending them to Ukraine as a punishment for Russia's refusal to pay post-war reparations. Baltic countries, which border Russia, along with several other states, have long called for full confiscation. However, this idea continues to face resistance from Western European countries, including Germany, Italy, and Belgium. The Houthi prime minister has been killed in an Israeli airstrike on Yemen's capital. Ahmed al-Rahabi, the most senior official in the Houthi-controlled government, was killed along with several ministers in the attack on Sana'a on Thursday, the rebels said. Other officials were reportedly wounded. The Israel Defense Forces confirmed they targeted a Houthi military site in the Sana'a area but gave no further details. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said on Saturday that the strike was a devastating blow to the Houthis, adding that this is just the beginning. Israel stated on Friday that the airstrike targeted the Houthi chief of staff, the defense minister, and other senior officials of the Iran-backed group, and that is now assessing the results. Reports say the airstrike occurred while a Houthi-run television station was broadcasting a speech by Abdul Malik al-Houthi, the secretive leader of the rebel movement. In his speech, he discussed the latest developments in Gaza and promised retaliation against Israel. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this update, give us a like and let us know what you think in the comments. For the latest news, follow our new X account, War and Politics 24. The link is in the video description.